money aside, so like a Hummer aside, how much of a motivator is fear?
It's a big one, you know. I'll say, for me, I didn't think I was going to live to see 30. I was sure of it.
Did that concept scare you, or was that just a
I was actually,
principle of life that you're operating under?
uh, I lost my brother when I was 13 on it too. Like, he was 19. He was like the VIP of the family,
You miss him?
Oh, every day. Uh, he was he was skateboarded, BMX, motorcycle hunter, one of the best marksmen that I've ever seen shoot.
So better than you at everything.
Yeah, he was the best of us, is what we would say. And
Yeah.
when he died, it's almost like a concert at his funeral. I met 3 of his girlfriends that all introduced themselves, like the one.
Yeah.
I To this day, every now and then I get pulled aside down when I go back home, and they, hey, you're Eric's brother. Despite all the stuff that I've done, I'm still, every now and then I get recognized. Um, that made my mom and my dad go into a horrible depression, and basically, left me to my devices when I was a kid. From 13 onwards, I had this self-destructive, aspect to me after that. I think, so again, something that's come up in therapy, after I've been gone through all that, and had this notion that if I can only die good in some way, shape, or form, or for something, that it would matter, and they would kind of, look at me with the same reverence they did with my brother.
So dying isn't the problem. The goal of life is to die for something good.
Yeah, at least that was my mindset going through that job. I remember I was in medical school before that. Second year of medical school. I was doing pretty good, and then 9/11 happened, and that wasn't an option anymore for me. The economy was horrible. Couldn't afford to stay there, so I saw that in the newspaper, and my big brother, who's still alive, Neto, he's like, "No te animas, you're not gonna do that shit. We wouldn't dare." And all of a sudden, I was in a field having my hair shaved off, and a bunch of the gafes, the guys that later turned into the Zeta cartel, military men, were in charge of our training. And I went through that process.
In what field were you, and why is your head being shaved? And what the hell was going through your mind? What was the leap that you took?
I was sold the idea of this being a new Americanized police force that they were constructing,
in Mexico.
In Mexico.
So elite,
yeah,
special force, kind of
prestigious, elite. The people in charge of our training were a lot, basically, ex-Mexican Gafe people. Gafes are what the special forces kind of originated. A lot of their members turned into the Zeta cartel, so they were brutal in their training. We were sold this idea of it being, scientific, educated based, and like a career path. And all of a sudden, we're in this refurbished prison that wasn't good enough to be a prison, and they turned it into a training ground. And I quickly kind of realized that they were training us to be a paramilitary group, not a community policing organization. Which in my mind, I thought that's what we were going to be doing.
What was the hardest process of that training for you? Because this is like a fragile, innocent boy becomes a man kind of process.
They're turning us into something that they could use. So it's a breaking down. They break down the individual. It's
physically and mentally.
Yeah, I think it's a half done initiation process. I think, in a way, looking at it from now to the past, the shaving off the hair, the stripping off your identity. Everybody gets a number. The uniforms, the running around and being treated like human garbage. The first thing they said to us when we were lined up in that field was, "Hay pan y verga para comer aquí, se acabó el pan," which means there's bread and dick to eat here, and the bread ran out a week ago, right? So it was, I can't equate it to anything in the military ever in the United States, because people down there could actually get physical with us. I mean, they could actually hit us and punch us and shit like that, which is not allowed here anymore. At least in most of the military isn't as horrible as down there. AK-47s being shot around us to simulate reality, basically causing hearing loss, that type of stuff.
So chaos, abuse, really challenging you.
Yeah.
Again, physically and mentally.
And an open door there always. So if you don't want to be here, you can just walk out. And the more you go into it, time-wise, you're more invested you are. So in a way, you're kind of building your own chains while you're going through that process.
Were you tempted to walk out?
Yeah, several times. Specifically seeing some of the ways that people that I thought were better or stronger than me were walking out or quitting because of something that happened in there. There was some sexual assault stuff happening in there as well.
Were you afraid of that?
Always, you're in a place like that, and there's females in the environment, and some of the instructors are doing what they do. So that was like a cause for alarm. I mean, these people are in charge of our safety and education, and look at what's happening here. So you could see some of the smarter ones leaving, not looking at this as a viable choice for life.
How did that change you, those few months?
I had this motivation, this idealistic motivation in my head, of making a difference. And they drill a lot of nationalistic kind of, the flag marching, you being part of a group and the group being, behind you and all of this.
What was the nationalistic pride? Was it in the nation of Mexico?
Yeah. So
what's the vision of this great nation of Mexico that you were? Did you believe? Did it get into your blood?
Yeah, I got into it's an indoctrination. It's a paramilitary group, so everything there is basically modeled after the military. So that's what they were trying to kind of instill in us. I was a team leader in there. After 3 months, basically, I was. We went through a bunch of trials, physical trials, and mental trials, and stuff like that. And some of us were named team leaders. And I, bought into it. I'm supposed to be here. Look at me. I'm making headways. I'm sticking out a bit, And I was pretty proud of what I was going through there. 6 months. Then you get the reality check when you sign the dotted line, and how that none of it really meant anything as far as what we were about to go out and do. An example of this, we were trained with a 92 FS Beretta, which is a 9mm pistol, Italian made. We got to shoot 20 rounds out of that gun. And then when we got out, we were handed a Glock 17, which I've never seen one in my life. I was trying to figure out where the safety was, and a few other people there were handling those guns in a horrible manner. So we were very undertrained, under-equipped, and there was a lot of assumptions about what we knew, and all of a sudden we were being cast into the start of one of the bloodiest and longest-lived modern conflicts in our history. That doesn't get called that, but it's basically been an ongoing war in Mexico that is still to this day, amassing bodies.
So the Mexican drug war.
The Mexican drug war, which is, it's hard to pinpoint exactly when it started, because when I was going through training, there was already stuff going on. I went into training in 2004, and there were already, major cartel-related events all over Mexico by then, but not at the size or scope as I was about to go into. When President Felipe Calderon kind of took office down there and actually officially kind of kicked it off by putting the military in play as part of it, basically militarized the drug war, including us.